Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Francis Faden, and I'm so grateful that we get to spend this time together helping you magnify your miracles. Today, I have a really special guest that I'm so excited to introduce to you to really help you, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're feeling a little bit, I don't know, kind of stuck in your life. Oh, we're going to be talking about the power of nature and giving you so many resources. I'm so excited. But before we do that, let's take a deep breath together and just breathe in the energy of expansion, breathing out anything that you no longer need. And we're doing this simply to open ourselves up to become more receptive to all the powerful stuff we're going to be sharing with you today. And as we bring ourselves more and more into this moment, knowing that whatever you need to hear today to help you move powerfully forward on your path to magnify your miracles is exactly what's going to be what you're going to hear. Let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, my friend, I'm so excited to introduce you to Karen Richter. She is a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, a client of mine, somebody that I just think everybody should know because her work is so amazing on so many levels. And I've been waiting and waiting to have her here on the podcast. So let me introduce you to Karen. She's the founder of Cohesive Outcomes, a company focused on personal and professional empowerment programs. She's recently expanded her mission with confidentbynature.com. Karen has co authored the book Uncover Your Light, Empowering Stories of Hope and Resilience. Her chapter, Nature's Path to Confidence, shares her personal story of transformation, the science behind forest bathing, and practical tips for experiencing the benefits of nature right away. Karen knows what it's like to feel burnt out, crippled by self doubt, weighed down by grief, and feeling like an observer of her life, just going through the motions. For years, she juggled multiple roles: mother, wife, professional, business owner, and friend, while striving to power through life's challenges and be perfect. When her productivity addiction led to physical illness, she turned to her happy place in nature and realized that it was doing more than just lifting her spirits. It was helping her heal and transform her life. Through her Wise Woman community, her immersive retreats, and mindful nature practices, Karen guides women entrepreneurs and leaders through transformative journeys of self-discovery. She helps them break free from all of the shoulds and reconnect with their authentic selves and feel fully alive. Oh my God, so awesome. Help me welcome Karen Richter. Hi, Karen.
Hello, it is so great to be here with you. Always so fun to see your smiling face.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been wanting to talk to you forever because I've gotten to witness firsthand what it's been like for you to really step into your connection with nature and how transformative it's been. And when I met you, you were really in that corporate environment. I'm curious if you'd be willing to share with us what was it like? How did you go from somebody who worked in that corporate environment and still works in corporate environments to leading these nature-based retreats? Would you share that with us?
I'd love to. And it's been a slow process over time. And if I look back all my life, I've had a very wonderful life. And for some reason, I felt like something was missing and that I wasn't enough. And so I was always striving to be more. And that meant more achievements, more working harder, being the perfect mom. And all of these accomplishments still didn't feel enough. And so I just kept doing more and more and figuring that's just how life was. That's how everybody feels. And even a little bit of guilt if I wasn't satisfied with this life that, for all intents and purposes, is an amazing life. And I just, as I said, I thought everybody felt this way. Um, and then I had an experience, which at the time I didn't realize how amazing it was. And it wasn't until years later in talking with you that I sort of realized the importance this had. But I have always loved swimming, and I've had the the benefit of being able to go snorkeling and see um, coral reefs and things. And then I went on a trip and was being certified to scuba dive. And I thought, it's going to be cool, but how could it be any better than snorkeling? Because snorkeling is just so cool. And then I found myself under the water, just immersed by this whole new environment. And I became a part of it. And I just remember the blue and gold fish swimming around me in a school. They didn't care that I was there. They were just sort of swimming around me and continuing to swim. And I felt a contentness that I hadn't felt. Contentness, is that a word? I
Contentment.
felt a feeling of contentment
Yeah.
that I hadn't felt before. And I felt like I really belonged here, which is, I'd never really felt like I'd belonged in life before. So it was a wonderful feeling. I loved it. It was great. And as I said, I never really thought about that until later in talking with you and realizing that's kind of how my whole life was that I was snorkeling along the surface and just sort of observing what was happening, feeling like I didn't have any control over it or that I was just an observer. And instead, I wanted to be that scuba diver in my life. And I wanted to be totally immersed and experiencing and a part of my life. And so I went on this journey of how do I get more of that feeling of being scuba diving? And with my knowledge at the time, the way I did that was to do more things, get more accomplishments, be even better, always doing that, trying to be perfect. And what was happening was I never felt good enough. I was getting stressed out, I was exhausted. And then I found myself at a point in my life where the things that really gave me a sense of accomplishment weren't there anymore. I was becoming an empty nester. If my kids are gone, who am I? Um, I lost, I had left the corporate world as an employee and I had my own business, Cohesive Outcomes, but still working in the corporate world. And I lost my biggest client. So I'm struggling financially as well. I was gaining weight, really just not feeling good at all and sort of swirling. And then unfortunately, my father passed away very unexpectedly, very quickly. And that just put me over the edge. And I didn't know how to cope in any other way than do more,
Yeah.
keep busy, do all the work that needs to be done. And after a while, I realized that this wasn't sustainable. And I um, I took 4 weeks off to focus on me and my health, which was fantastic. And after 2 weeks, I felt amazing. And then, boom, out of nowhere, I developed AFib, an
Mm.
electrical problem with the heart that just sort of, they're not sure why it comes. It just comes out of nowhere.
Mm.
And that just put the brakes on everything because I have low blood pressure. And when I went into AFib, my blood pressure would tank and I just
Yeah.
couldn't function. And that was my real wake up call to say,
Mm.
I need to do life differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I look back at those 2 weeks of the four where I was taking care of myself,
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it by doing everything I could. Let's do every exercise class and let's get up early and ride my bike on the beach and go, go, go. And so I wasn't really listening to what my body needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I've got to do things differently, but how? And so I went to my happy place. I love being in nature. I love taking walks. And I was feeling so much better. And I started, why is that? Why, it's not just in my head, like I truly feel better. And I got involved in forest therapy and became a certified nature and forest therapy guide and learned all about the science of how much impact spending mindful time in nature and what an impact that has on us, on our physical health, mental health, cognitive health. Um, it's just amazing what it can do. And I continually felt better and better. And that's when I said, I want to continue to have a foot in the corporate world. That's where I grew up. And I think in the corporate world is where so many people need to know about
Mhm.
this amazing tool that we have available to us, nature. But I became much more focused on nature and leading nature immersions and stepping away from that corporate grind. And I haven't felt better in years. Like I just have so much more clarity, so much more calmness, such a belief that everything's going to work out. And um,
Mm.
it's just so comforting to know that I've always got nature right outside my window. Even if I'm in the middle of the city, there's a tree that I can connect with that can bring me that sense of calm and peace.
Mm. Such a powerful story. And your health, you're in good health now, right?
I am
Thank
very happy to
goodness.
say.
Thank goodness. So you mentioned a couple of things that people might not know about, like the forest bathing. I know some people have heard about it, and a nature immersion. So I love this scuba story. It's like such a great metaphor of like being on the surface, as opposed to being in the immersion. And for people that don't know what is a nature immersion? Can you explain that to people?
So nature immersion is my term for bringing people into this intentional, mindful opportunity to connect with nature. So I
Mm.
think a lot of us, even people who say they love nature, we tend to be accomplishing something in nature. We're going for a hike, we're going for a jog, we're reaching the top of the mountain. Um, and again, we're sort of observing the beautiful nature as we go through it, like we're skimming the top of the water.
Hmm.
And so these nature immersions are an opportunity to really slow down and become aware on a different level of everything that's around you and actually connect with it and become a part of the nature. I think one of the downfalls of modern man is that we think of ourselves as separate from nature, when really we're just another part of nature. We're just one more being in the nature environment. And so these nature immersions are a time for us to slow down and remember that. And that allows us to reconnect with all sorts of things that we've lost touch with.
So I'm curious, I can guess, but I'm curious. It seems like that work is so powerful for women. I mean, I obviously it's powerful for men too, but I know a few women who have gone down this road ever since you introduced me to it. And then I know other people that have done it now, so I'm aware of it now. Um, why is it so crucial for women to start to feel that connection with nature? Like what is it about that for everything that you're saying?
So nature is sort of like a mirror to
Mm-hmm.
us, and it allows us to see our true selves and connect with our true selves. And I think women in particular have been brought up to be looking at the needs of everyone else. And we have these ideas of who we need to be successful and who we need to be to everyone else. And how often do we hear ourselves or our friends talk about, there's no time for me. And so these nature immersions are that opportunity to slow down, to really reconnect with who you are inside and what it is you want out of life, and each woman comes away with different things because it fulfills a need based on what's there that the person's lacking or missing or wanting to learn about. So there's no one answer of what will a nature immersion bring, but it brings whatever's needed in the moment.
I love that. And I've heard people say that if you want to understand your own nature, study nature. I've heard that there's something about connecting with that energy that, especially for women, helps us to really connect with our own nature and really the truth of like what's going on with us, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, for sure.
I think there's people like Albert Einstein who have said that if you want to understand your own nature, look to nature.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I used to study Ayurveda, they would talk about that a lot. They would talk about how what's going on out in the world, in the world of nature, is also happening. And so, if you wanted to understand your symptoms or whatever it might be, and Chinese medicine talks about, I mean, there's just a lot of different things that talk about that. And I've always loved like a lot of the earth-based cultures and religions and the Aboriginal people and all that. The people that have that as part of their culture, that they're really connected with the earth, there's a wisdom that they seem to be tapped into that I think we've lost in our way of doing it now. The good news is it doesn't have to stay lost, and that's a big piece of what you're trying to teach, is that it's not difficult to do this necessarily. You just need to know what it is that to do, right?
Yeah.
So I know some of what forest bathing is. Explain to people so that they understand the difference between forest bathing, nature immersion, forest therapy. Like, what are these things? You talked a little bit about the nature immersion.
So I think in some ways those terms are all interchangeable,
Yeah.
but forest, if we start with forest bathing, that's a term that gained popularity in the 80s. And it comes from the term Shinrin Yuku, which is Japanese, which means forest bathing. And it's because in the 80s, Japan was shifting from an agricultural society to industrialized, and all of a sudden started having illnesses that the rest of the world was having, and they hadn't to that point. So they were seeing lots of stress, kinds of, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart attacks, autoimmune diseases. And so they did a lot of research, and they're one of those cultures that you talk about that has a real connection to nature.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought to study, hey, we've shifted from being out in nature to spending time in office buildings under fluorescent lights. And they realized that by getting people back out into nature, that was really healthy for them. And they identified that I could spend a whole session talking about the science behind it because it's so interesting, but there's actually chemicals, phytoncides, that are floating around in the air for trees to talk to each other and to protect themselves. If there's a fungus that's coming that's harmful to them, they can protect themselves but with these phytoncides. And being a part of nature, when we are out in that environment, we're absorbing those phytoncides through the skin and as we breathe. And so, and it boosts our immune systems the same as it does trees. So in the 80s, that's when Japan actually started prescribing as an antidote for people to go out into nature. And they said to bathe themselves in the environment, in the atmosphere. So sometimes people say forest bathing, are we going to get naked and, get wet in the tub? No, you're bathing yourself in the environment. And then forest therapy is a continuation of that grew here in the United States. We took what was being done in Japan, we continued to do research, and maybe took it another step further. Instead of just looking at what are the resources that nature can give us, it's how can we have a reciprocal relationship with nature. And we used the term or the saying that nature is the therapist and the guide opens the doors.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not providing therapy when I offer forest therapy walks. I am introducing you to a new relationship with nature so that nature can be the therapist that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of that term therapist, I think sometimes people get confused, and that's why I chose to use the term nature immersion.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I've gone on a few of those nature therapy walks, and what's amazing about them to me is it's not at all about your mind. It's like, and that's exactly what I need, is to go beyond my mind. It's like my mind's always like trying to figure it
Absolutely.
out. What's happening? What are we doing next? And it's not about that. It's really that communing and being really aware of yourself, where you are in time and space. That's experience that I had. I just found it to be really healing, bringing me into the present moment, helping me be present with myself. And Karen, the thing that I always feel when I do it is just how supported we are. I just feel so supported when I'm out in nature. And I think as a woman, that's one of the things that's so healing for me, is to be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm actually supported. I don't have to be always the one supporting everybody else. There's this energy that's here that is dancing with me, so to speak. I love that.
And I love that you have recognized that you're getting out of your head and into your body, into the senses. And that's one of the main intents, is to, we spend so much time up here in our heads, and this allows us to experience the nature around us and our experience with it using all of our senses, getting more in touch with the rest of those senses.
So I have a question for you. I love this idea, confident by nature. What's the connection between nature and confidence? That's one thing I think, because I know there are a lot of people who listen to the podcast who probably have third chakra issues that are like like you mentioned in your, like self-doubt, all of that. What is it that connecting with nature helps women, especially, to feel more confident? Where's that connection?
I think that goes back to our reconnecting with parts of ourselves, allowing those to come forward, seeing how we are a part of a bigger system, supported by this system. And I know for myself, I just get this overwhelming sense that yes, all is right with the world. I'm on the
Mm-hmm.
right track. Believe in yourself. I don't audibly hear messages. I know some people are blessed to be able to do that, but I get these senses from nature,
Mm-hmm.
these messages of, um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing great, Karen. Enjoy
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
And
And that
then
would
that just allows people to be confident in whatever it is.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, it builds up your faith and your trust, and that would
Yeah.
naturally make you more confident. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that.
I used to think it was confident because I do a lot of public speaking
Mm-hmm.
support for women, and so I thought originally it was confident to speak your words, speak your
Mm-hmm.
ideas. And I said, well, for some people that is, but other people it's confident in their ability to make decisions. Or for other people it's there's all sorts of things that you can be confident about. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
a overarching, whatever it is that you need, nature can help you find it.
I love that. So one of the things you've shared with me is how much, because I know you've led these retreats and you've done things before. There's something about connecting with nature that really connects women with their purpose, which I love. I always want to talk about that, with their purpose and their joy. Tell us about that process. Like, how does that happen and what's that like?
I think by slowing down and really focusing inward and recognizing what's important to us, a big piece that comes out of this is giving ourselves permission to explore those areas.
Mhm.
And for some people, that's purpose. They hadn't allowed themselves to think of a purpose other than what they felt society was telling them is their purpose. And so they've been doing their best to fulfill those expectations. And this allows us to see maybe there's more than that. Maybe there's something different than that. We're given reminders when we look around at nature
Mhm.
that that nature is resilient, nature is strong, nature um, provides, nature's flexible, adaptable,
Mhm.
and all of those messages just allow women to say, all right, I can explore beyond what I've allowed myself to think, beyond these boundaries.
I know that you led a retreat last year that was really special and very immersive. What was it like? Like, what did you see in some of the you don't have to share any names or anything, but what did you see with the participants of like they came and they were kind of like in this energy, and then you shared with me like kind of watching them unfold or watching them blossom. What's it like for people to be in that energy for a few days and then come out the other side of it?
I have chills even just remembering and thinking back. And I had a different, different women coming from different angles.
Right.
And there were some that really didn't believe in all of this. It was just a fun getaway. But, oh, are we going to be hugging trees, Karen? And by the end of it was just a long weekend. Um, they looked so much more relaxed. They were laughing. We had so much fun together. That particular woman said, I knew this would be fun. I knew this would be a good time, but I didn't realize how transformative it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent a lot of time reconnecting with nature, doing some gentle movement, reconnecting with our bodies. And then we also had a lot of downtime
Mm-hmm.
to reflect on these experiences and to have fun. That's another piece of it is I think as adults in our culture, we don't allow ourselves to have fun anymore. And this
Mm-hmm.
was like a bunch of kids playing at summer camp. There was just so much joy and so much lightness. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the upcoming retreat. I'm so excited. Tell me about it. It's called Awakening Aliveness, right?
Yes.
And when does it happen and where's it going to be?
So it's happening in November 9th through the 16th, and it is
2025.
going to be in the Cloud Mountains of Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
And I loved the awakening aliveness because as I talk to more and more women, I hear this theme of I just don't feel fully alive. I'm sort of going through the motions. I'm living this great life, but it's going so quickly and I just don't feel alive. And so this is our opportunity to to reconnect with that aliveness, find that joy.
In
And one of the
Costa
things I'm
Rica. Yay.
especially excited about
Mm-hmm.
is the land where we will be had been for many years pasture land used for farming. And
Cattle,
then
right?
about
Raising
50
cattle.
years ago,
Mm-hmm.
what's that?
Raising cattle.
Yeah. And about 50 years ago, this gentleman said, I'm getting this feeling from nature that it wants to return back to the way it's meant to be. It wants to go back to its true nature. And he reforested and it took a lot of trial and error to figure out how to get rid of the non-native grasses and take care of the land that had been having lots of pesticides and fertilizers. And now it is a lush forest. The animals, the wildlife has come back. It's just a beautiful, beautiful space. And I am thrilled to be able to partner with this land and help people see that story, that message is ours as well. we've been something that society wanted us to be. We have filled ourselves with pesticides, and um, this is our opportunity to see what could be possible if we allow ourselves to return to our true nature.
I love that. The land herself is going to be supporting the women in this journey that you're going to be taking them through.
Absolutely.
And I can feel the energy of it already, just feeling so supported. So yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Is there
She's like
anything else?
my co-facilitator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now you incorporate other things too, though. Don't you do like some Tai Chi? Are there other practices that are involved?
Yes, there's another opportunity to reconnect with our bodies and slow ourselves down. We like to do things like Qigong and Tai Chi easy. Some people get a little scared of the term Tai Chi because it could be very regimented, and
Hmm.
I love a particular form called Tai Chi easy, which
I love
really
that.
simplifies it and makes it a lot more fun. Um, we'll also incorporate some yoga nidra rest meditation, allowing ourselves to truly rest. I think in these days we do things that are relaxing, that we enjoy, but we don't get the rest that we need.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and again, we'll have plenty of downtime to just enjoy being in this beautiful campus. We will have the whole retreat center to ourselves,
Ooh,
little cabins along the hillside, the stream running through. So there's plenty of time just to soak in all of that beauty around us.
that sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. So if people wanted to do that, they want to find out about the retreat, where would they go? Where do we want to let people know about it?
So they can go to www.confidentbynature.com,
Hmm.
and then there's a link there to get into the retreat and read all of the details, and definitely an opportunity to register, and a link to connect with me if you had more questions or wanted to learn anything more about it.
Okay. So confidentbynature.com is the place to look to find out a little bit more about that. And is that also where people can go if they want to find out about like a 1 day event that you might be doing, or if you're doing more of a nature walk, or because you can actually even do this remotely. It doesn't have to be in person. Sometimes you'll do things that are people can do it and do theirs and then connect with you on Zoom or whatever, right? There's lots of different ways people you can work with people.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up, because so often people think, this forest therapy, these nature immersions, it sounds like we need to go trekking, 3 miles into the wilderness, and it's kind of hardcore adventure.
Mhm.
And it does not need to be that at all. It's actually a very slow, mindful activity. And so I do in-person events at local areas. But as you say, it's also very easily done, and some people even prefer it to do it online. And you think,
Mm.
we're trying to
Trying to get in
disconnect
nature. How does
from,
that work?
yeah, and only the leading part is online. So I will connect like we are now on Zoom. People have an opportunity to hear a little bit of the background and what we're going to be doing. And then what I do is offer a series of invitations, which are inviting people to go out wherever they are, um, and interact in a certain way with nature. And then we come back. That's when we're back on Zoom again, and have sort of a sharing. How was that experience? And then I'll give another invitation and we'll go back out. So they are having these experiences wherever they are, which could be your local park, it could be your backyard. And some people have told me how they love doing this in their own yard, because now they have a different relationship and they know
Mhm.
it's just out the door. They don't have to get into the car and drive to the park. It's just here waiting for them. So
I love that.
there's definitely opportunities to do it remotely as well.
Yeah, I love that. You have any last thoughts for us, Karen, that you want to share before we wrap up today?
Well, right now it's winter in this part of the world, And I would just say that doesn't mean we need to limit our opportunities to connect with nature. And
Mm,
there's so many ways we can do it. Um, doesn't have to be time consuming. I'm looking at a plant I have here in my office. You know, bringing nature indoors can be helpful. When you need to be outdoors to walk to the car, there's some opportunities to slow down and interact with nature then. And
mhm.
even my remotely guided uh, nature immersions, they don't have to, they could last. I have little mini 1 hour sessions, but then a full session might be 2 or 3 hours. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be outdoors for that whole time.
Right,
You can go outdoors for the 10-minute invitation and then go back into your car or back into your house for the sharing round, sort of warm up, and then
right,
go back outside.
right.
So I really just encourage people not to think that nature is only a warm weather activity. You know, it's there for us all the time, and we can learn a lot from nature,
Beautiful.
especially in the winter. Slow down, rest.
Slow down and rest. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Karen. I so appreciate you in your time and all this beautiful stuff that you're sharing with us, which I just know it's absolutely the truth. It's absolutely the truth. I highly encourage all of you listeners to go to confidentbynature.com and connect with Karen because she's just a plethora of not only information, but she really lives what she talks about and wants to really help you to feel connected and to feel alive. So I highly encourage you to do that. Thank you once again, Karen, for being here.
Thank you.
And I just want to say to everybody, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody that you know that could use this information, that you could use to be inspired. Social media with your friends, however you like to share things. I so appreciate it. And just remember, your miracle is already here, my friend. Take care. Bye bye.